Dan P with uniquedrops.com. Ask for it by name. And welcome to the weekly Discourse.
Hey.
This is your weekly drop of news, information, hot takes from the crew. I'm joined with my compatriots. It's Chris.
It's Chris.
It's John.
That's me.
And we have a wide variety of topics this podcast, and let's get right to it. So first off, video games and guns.
God, when are they going to make a game with guns in them?
Violent video games are the leading cause of all of our problems that have been happening these past week.
Yes, not to make light of a very serious situation. Condolences go out to all of the victims of the last week's several mass shootings, as is now a facet of our American life and has been for quite a while, unfortunately. Guns and blaming gun violence on video games is back in vogue. I feel like I'm back in middle school again.
Yep.
And it seems like everybody's kind of coming out about guns and video games and not blaming, things that those mass shooters actually said that they were about, like white supremacy.
Or guns.
Or guns.
Just guns.
Just guns.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The thing is that, the guns don't kill people. The people are the ones that kill people.
That's what I'm told.
Kills people.
Super Mario kills turtles and Goombas.
I don't know if I have too much to say on this other than, the classic arguments are completely false. There's no study in the wide variety of studies that show that video games lead to any kind of mass shooting or prevalence of gun violence.
Or any violence. That was proven. When did Mortal Kombat come out? 1991? They've done study after study for more than 20 years now.
I think the closest that I've ever seen something kind of relate any kind of violence to guns is that, or guns. Well, yeah, guns and violence are related. But relating any kind of video games to violence is that certain types of games can make people a little bit more aggressive in the short term, just like any kind of stressful activity.
Yeah,
can do that.
Tackle football can do the same thing. Like, it's not, people get competitive with each other. There is a chemical reaction that causes people to get their blood up, as it were.
Yeah,
and
it's unfortunately, the big things are about, like, video games are played by every other culture on Earth.
Yep.
First world countries, third world countries play video games, and there's a lot of first world developed nations that play just as many video games as the United States, but we have an overwhelming gun violence, murder rate.
There was that infographic that was floating around basically that showed the number of shootings that happen in the developed world, and you see the comparison to, what was it? I forget what the other info was.
It was the chart was dollars spent per person in the country on video games. Yeah. So South Korea was 1, China was 2, United States 3, and then you look at the chart in terms of gun violence per capita, and everybody is essentially close to 0 or very much single digits.
And the United States bar is off the charts.
We're thousands of percent.
Yeah. In this case, there is American exceptionalism because we are far outpacing any other country, especially developed countries, in gun violence. But Americans are not very exceptional in any other kind of sense. We get depressed as the same as other people. We have probably just as much fascists as other people.
But Walmart is there to help people not have to worry about it because they're going to stop advertising violent video games.
And in relation to that, it's our broad access to firearms and the culture around it that leads us to this kind of kind of nonsense. Honestly, like even the access to guns sometimes isn't completely always the issue, right?
No.
Because Canada has, I think, per capita just as many guns as the United States. It's the way that our society and our culture revolves around this fetishization of guns and personal security in that it's almost like a fantasy to like stop like some armed burglar in your house with a firearm, which having a firearm in your house is
more likely to cause a problem in the home than it is to actually.
Yeah, you're more likely to die of your own gun
yep.
than some other Yahoo coming into your house and shooting up the place.
Yep.
And just to further on the mass shooting stuff and how like guns are really the problem. Like the good guy with the gun thing was, really put to a test.
Yeah.
In over the weekend, unfortunately, the police were on the scene, I think, within a minute and 30 seconds, I think, in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that guy, those guys still managed to kill multiple people, a lot of people.
9 people killed and 20 injured, I believe, was the number in less than 60 seconds.
And then I forgot what the final count is in El Paso, but I believe it's like 22 or 23.
I want to say 22 is what I last heard, and then however many injured.
The police were there with firearms, and there were presumably other Americans there with firearms.
Yep.
And nobody could stop these people until they caused massive amounts of carnage. And that's what guns do. Because guns are supposed to cause a massive amount of carnage in a very small amount of time.
The gun did its job.
Yeah, the gun did its job.
I don't mean to get off on a little tangent here, but like I don't know if you saw the Twitter stuff show up about the stabbings that went on down in Orange County. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Like that guy injured a whole bunch of people, but the number of casualties to number of injured was much like lower.
Yeah.
Because he was stabbing somebody as opposed to having an AR-15 that had 100-round ammunition clip.
And just because somebody goes on a rampage with a knife doesn't mean that the broader point about guns being extremely like dangerous for our society and also a health issue for our society doesn't mean that goes away.
No.
I mean, our knife attacks. I mean, knives have other uses other than just like hurting people.
Yeah,
no, and knife isn't going to do 9 killed and 20 injured in 30 seconds.
And to segue into what John brought up a little bit earlier about Walmart, I guess the story this week is that Walmart is taking down a lot of advertisements or in-store promotional things of violent video games, namely, I think the next Call of Duty and some other stuff. But
guns are still on sale.
But Walmart is still, I believe, the most
prolific gun seller in the nation.
In the United States.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Solving the problem.
The cognitive dissonance between that is, just amazing. Yeah. It's just amazing.
The mental gymnastics that people have to go through.
American exceptionalism at its finest. That's just what it is. It's ridiculous. And to blame stuff on video games is so crazy. I think, Chris, you had a very good tweet earlier about it. What is it? What was your comparison? I think
I said I'm going to stop peeing in the toilet in order to prevent it from clogging again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's not getting to the root of the problem and those kind of things.
That would be impressive if you clogged your toilet with pee. I just got to say.
Well, I think that's what Walmart's doing.
Okay. So, yeah, don't need to belabor the point. Guns are overall pretty bad for our society. I understand the interest in it. I've had my own fascination with firearms in the past, and I play games with a lot of guns, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. But
personally owning a firearm is not something that appeals to me.
Yeah, personally owning a firearm, especially in this day and age, where they're just proven to be just a real public hazard.
Yep.
And that's just what it is.
Yep.
Yes.
Segueing to that, speaking of Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think that's what it's just called, right?
Yes,
it's not,
it is just Modern Warfare. Yep.
It's like a reboot.
Okay.
We've talked about this.
We won't talk about the weird nature of sequel naming, but so Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think that they're the latest developers in a long line of developers saying that their game is not political.
Had the gumption. Game Informer was interviewing them, and the frickin' the one of the devs literally had the gall to say that like this is a relevant modern war story, and then the next question is your game political? And he says no. And I'm like, I saw that, and then we talk about cognitive dissonance, and it's like, fuck off. I'm sorry.
Chris from UniqueDrops.com, what do you think about this?
it's impressive that this day and age anybody would let somebody stand up and say that their game, based on relatively recent, based in a reality that is a reflection of current events.
Based on war.
It's called modern warfare.
Based on war. War is a political thing.
It's a political tool.
What is that?
It's exerting influence.
War is diplomacy by other means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. War is political.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Or there's the, I did the Star Wars quote, but like diplomacy with lightsabers. It's like aggressive negotiation.
Yeah. There's nothing good that's going to come of this. The amount of credit they were given by true gamers was frankly disgusting. If it didn't already make me not want to look at the game.
What do you mean by credit by true gamers?
He was applauded in YouTube comments, for Twitter threads.
Okay, I got it.
Yes, he said, "Thank you for keeping politics out of my video games."
Out of my Call of Duty.
Correct.
Modern Warfare.
Out of my Warfare game.
Yeah, I can't wait to play your Child Soldier level. Thanks so much.
It's apolitical. Yeah, isn't
that in the game?
Yeah, there's a Child Soldier level in that game, and
but then, and I don't know if you were going to touch on it, the Tamagunchi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
As John and Dan were just talking about, there is child soldier levels in the single player campaign. It's supposed to take multiple angles from British SAS to rebel forces in what is presumably the Middle East. So the single player campaign, very gritty, I think is the word that they used for it.
Yeah, they're trying to be more realistic.
Exactly.
And show the cost of warfare.
Apolitical.
A contemporary relevant tale, as the developer tried to say.
Non-political.
Non-political.
But let's put that to the side. Right?
And then the multiplayer, they thought, how do we make shooting people fun, more interesting? And so they've created the Tamagunchi.
Yeah.
So as you shoot and kill people, you have essentially a Tamagotchi type toy in game, and I think it comes in the form of a wristwatch.
Sure.
And you level it up. It grows and thrives as you virtually take lives.
What's crazy about this is that this looks like almost like a bad New Yorker political cartoon. If the Tamagunchi or Gunchi was like drawn in a line drawing thing in a New Yorker or Harper's Weekly or something like that. Let's get fucking fully like ultra liberal here, right? And it just had the word emblazoned on it, the defense industry, and you're feeding it like lives. And then in the bottom, it just says the cost of war.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a bad political cartoon, but
brought to life.
Apparently is unpolitical.
Apolitical. There's no politics in this game. Did you watch the clip of him asking him the question?
Yeah.
Like, literally, the interviewer is like, "Really?" Like, he literally says "really" 3 times, and the guy's like, "No, it's not political. No."
He is towing that company lines.
Honestly, you can't have. I don't know how. We're just kind of going around in circles, but you can't have British SAS or other special forces from the United States or Great Britain and those kind of things fighting foreign wars and say that this is not political. It's crazy. Like, sure, on the individual level, right? Like, I get it. From the individual level, the soldier level, like, that person is doing
their duty,
soldiering for particular kinds of reasons, right? Camaraderie, bravery, patriotism, which is also political, but patriotism, standing up for the guy next to you in the trench and all that other kind of, patriotic, gung-ho imagery. But like, the reason why he's in that trench is
because somebody
because of political
politician went,
context.
This is where we need to be.
If you decide to strip away all context and meaning from an action, it's blind ignorance and willful ignorance, and you cannot be that. You cannot do that.
And here's the thing: I think a lot of people would be interested in a political conversation, like a game that actually embraced its politics and could deal with that on a level that is worthwhile. Like, you've talked about Spec Ops: The Line being
one of the best single player one day single. I played that all day Christmas Eve because I didn't have no family.
Yeah.
All my friends were doing other things with their family, and I played Spec Ops: The Line from beginning to end.
And
I started in the morning.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, motherfucker. Here's white phosphorus. Yeah, because there's a white phosphorus level that, like, you know, you target people that you think are targets, and it turns out that they're actually just civilians. But on the night vision, they just look like they could be targets, right? I mean, you know, Spec Ops: The Line, I mean, sometimes I think it gets too much credit. Like, it's not, but in light of recent things when we were talking about Ghost Recon,
Wildlands, or
Breakpoint, and then now Modern Warfare, I mean, man, Spec Ops: The Line looks fucking like Citizen Kane next to these things.
And the thing, the reason it gets so much regard is because it took a chance. Like, it actually went, hey, how about we try and talk about this?
And for real, as a fan of it, it's, you know, B tier.
I mean,
at most.
It's the same way.
For complex storyline, it's not really that complex. But relatively, like, hey, man, this is an Oscar winner.
It's the same way I feel about a game like Mafia 3, where it was not a you know, the best game of all time, but the fact that it was dealing with topics that other open world games wouldn't deal with was worthwhile. Yeah.
All right,
move on, Dan.
Transition. I don't know how to do this transition from serious to other goofy shit, but No Man's Sky Beyond. I'm actually looking forward to playing No Man's Sky.
Yes.
Beyond.
Next week, my friends.
Next week is the expansion called Beyond, and they're adding a bunch of multiplayer stuff. It's a free update, adding VR support and some other. I think you can ride mounts now and stuff like that. You can ride animals.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and all the previous improvements and updates that they've done to that game. It looks kind of cool. You know, a couple months ago I got really into Elite Dangerous again, and then burned out on that because that game is way too grindy. So, and I like kind of building stuff and being creative in games sometimes. Sometimes I have that itch. It can't just be slashing monsters and shooting dudes all the time.
Well, the thing I liked about, like, I know one of the previous updates, one of the first big updates they did, allowed you to get back to, like, a base without having to worry about traveling back there. Like, if you ran out of fuel or something like that, there was a way to instant transition back to, like, certain places. Yeah. So, like, the low barrier to exploring the galaxy is also very cool in that, I think.
Yeah, it looks pretty impressive, and like on a PC it looks very, very impressive. And so, yeah, the game's come a long way in 3 years.
Yeah, hey. I'm glad they had the chance to actually do it, you know, that they've been able to put in the work. You can play, Chris?
No Man's Sky. I super did not buy into it initially. I think what's most interesting to me is the story of the game being made, how it came out kind of half baked, but it had the Sony money.
Yeah,
and it's been interesting to see that, whether it was Sony support or if there's actually been the organic growth and interest in its own player base.
I think I've seen a talk about how every time they do one of these updates, the sales of the game spike.
Right.
Yeah. So I think they were pulling in. I want to say I saw this on a random comment, but there's something in the neighborhood of 50 to 70 million revenue last year, just their game.
Yeah.
Which is pretty significant.
That's a lot of money.
There's a reason why they're still bringing out stuff for free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they know people will go, oh, that's kind of cool, and like, wow, they got a lot of cool stuff now. So
I mean, I want to say the game's like $30 now. Too,
yeah, I was gonna say I saw it on.
Is it still 60?
Nah, it's 60.
Okay.
I saw it for 20 at one point because I was gonna, and it might have been a Black Friday or something.
It was a sale. Yeah, it's 60.
I thought about getting it at that point, but it's just not a game that, quite frankly, falls in my lane, and that's okay.
But a game that could be in your lane, that is also a perennial favorite in the uniquedrops.com family, Children of Morta gets a release date.
Was it, how many years ago did we first see that? 4?
4. We had a different site name and everything.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the release date is?
It's October?
No.
Is it,
the PC is...
Is it September? I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, tell them about it, Dan.
Well, Children of Morta is kind of a roguelike. I hate saying that for every other game, but it kind of is.
It fits.
But it's mostly like kind of like a Diablo style action RPG. There's less focus on grinding out inventory and weapons and armor, but more kind of like getting skill upgrades and those kind of things. I believe it's a randomized dungeon, at least last time I played it. It's got a pixel art feel, so it looks really cool, and
it had good particle effects in it. I remember.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a really well made game, even when we played it like years ago.
Yeah, we've played it a couple times over its development. September 3rd is the PC release date.
Yeah.
October 15th is October 15th for Switch, Xbox One, and PS4.
Okay.
The day after my birthday.
Switch, you say?
Yes, Chris. It's coming to Switch.
But it is only local co-op, so I actually don't know how the Switch.
But that's no longer. Oh well,
works.
yeah, I should say. Yeah. I was gonna say with PC, local co-op doesn't matter anymore because of the magic program that you have discovered. Dan.
Oh, Parsec.
Yeah.
Well, I can talk about Parsec some other time.
That's fine.
But there's issues with Parsec.
Yes.
Just because of latency.
Gotcha. Yeah, if you want to play a local PC game on over a network, it's Parsec. Just look it up.
Children of Morta seems pretty cool, and then there was a lot of emphasis when we talked to those developers years ago. A lot of emphasis on storyline and how it's basically like a family and how all of their family stuff intersect and kind of those kind of things. I haven't been keeping up with the details that they've been dropping because I kind of wanted to play it for myself, and it's been years and stuff like that, so I kind of don't remember a lot of the things that they did say, but I remember that was a very important aspect that they wanted to emphasize, that there's a lot of story
interfamilial.
Yeah. So, Bloodstained. Chris, you've been playing Bloodstained?
I have, because
you're the last one of us to play Bloodstained.
You beat it.
Which is...
you beat it?
Ah, wow, man, so many things.
Spoilers.
I kickstarted Bloodstained.
Yeah, so
John and I kickstarted. I was still the last person to get, because I got the Switch key, which was a week after everybody else. I kind of regret getting a Switch key. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yes, it's actually been a lot of fun. It's Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, you know what you're getting into if you Kickstarted or bought that game.
It's
or you should.
Fun to play. It looks good. It handles just like Symphony of the Night. You're not going to get anything new there.
Except
it's a Switch port.
The port is pretty bad.
It's kind of horrible. So I had some of those text issues when I first started the game. Words would be missing, things like that. I'm about 43% through the map. And what Dan was talking about is I made it to Gebel, the final boss enemy, your old friend. And
you did what we all probably did, and you just kind of stumbled into that door.
I stumbled into the fight thinking it's another boss. I'm going to get a new upgrade. Yeah. And it was him, and I beat him. And then it was like game over. What? Yeah. This isn't how it's supposed to end. So I'm back into
to
it.
Explore.
You killed Richter without finding the glasses, so that you could see Shaft, and then you go,
see. Yes. So I'm back into it again. Anyhow, but the Switch port has so much slowdown. I dealt with loading times between 10 and 30 seconds between rooms at times. At one point, I made it to the library, spoke to the vampire, and the whole background looked like scrambled cable television, but you could still see the two sprites of the characters, and then the game just flat crashed. Started me back at the opening screen. So it's been... if you play it 3 days straight, you'll have one day where it's fine, one day where it's kind of and then one day where you're just going to have slow loads leading up to potentially a crash. I don't know if it's memory leaks. I don't know if it's between save points, whatever the case is.
It probably unoptimized.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Engine.
Totally.
The game is made in Unreal.
Yeah, it's probably too much for the Switch, and it probably wasn't even ported by the team who built it. That's not uncommon.
So, the Kickstarter updates indicate that they are the ones working on the Switch updates.
They are now.
Well, that was their first post. When the day that it came out on the Switch, they went their Kickstarter backer message was yeah, we heard you guys.
Well, then
we're prioritizing the Switch.
They seem to do a very good job.
No,
unfortunately, the Switch, while a great system, sometimes with these platform ports tends to
short
not
end
have
of the stick.
the best of luck.
Give me that Switch Pro, baby. Give it to me right in my veins.
They made it, Chris. It's got a new battery.
No.
All right, moving on. Xbox handheld. What's this all about?
It's not. I hate these things.
John, a resident Xbox expert.
I mean, yes. Full disclosure, I work for Xbox, so
Mr. Xbox.
Yeah, I wasn't Mr. Xbox.
No, I'm gonna.
Mr. Xbox, tell me about the Xbox handheld.
It's not a handheld. They filed a patent for what appears to be an attachment for a cell phone, and yet the article title was, of course, Xbox handheld. And like that, I don't like clickbait.
John called it
like that,
clickbait.
which it is.
Strong language, John.
It's a clickbait article.
Strong.
Well, I mean, it's Xbox getting into some kind of handheld.
You're holding your hand.
Some kind of the handheld market, because that's supposedly probably going to be
portable.
The vector to stream things from your Xbox.
Yeah, and they've already Microsoft and Xbox have been very clear about their plans to allow you to stream to your phone.
Yeah.
Like that was, the E3 announcement. So I wasn't a fan of the person categorizing it as Xbox making a handheld. Like that's how it read from the title of the article.
I did, yeah. I looked through the patent though. I mean, what what's the word when they make a mock-up?
Renders?
Yeah, renders. What they rendered looked like what the patent was trying to look for, and it looks pretty slick. And if it's going to work with most phones, all phones, obviously
it totally makes sense that they would want to develop something like that for because then the controls are standardized. Like they can build, people can say like, yes, if you have this, the game is going to work exactly as it would on a console.
Yes.
So
if they can make that happen, more power to them. That actually looks intriguing. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'm necessarily the market for it, but a lot of people are going to be if you're heavy into the Xbox ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, moving on, in our week in media, things that we've been watching, John, you wanted to talk about John Oliver's Last Week Tonight's latest feature.
Yeah, this is going to get a little real for you folks. So he talked about the prison system this week, and specifically about the prison system in the U.S. is basically a big private industry that's a multi-billion-dollar money-making machine.
You don't say.
Yeah, apparently prisons in America are not being run for rehabilitation.
They're run for profit.
They're run for profit. And so they are trying to maximize their profit and minimize their costs. And some of the things that that were discussed in the piece was the abysmal wages that these people are paid for what basically amounts to backbreaking labor in a lot of cases.
Or dangerous fighting California wildfires.
Yeah, or putting their lives on the line to fight a fire.
Or bullfighters. They use that as an example.
Rodeo clowns, basically.
Yeah, rodeo clowns. They put them in the middle of a bull ring and have the bull hit them, and they get paid lots of money.
For the bull they get a bonus.
They get a couple $100 apparently.
Yeah. But if you're working in the laundromat, you're making like 86 cents a day.
Yeah.
But the cost-cutting stuff that they talked about specifically was the denial of visitation, like actual in-person visitation. And as somebody growing up who actually had, a father who was incarcerated in the prison system, like being able to actually go visit him in person was something that was, a right. Like you were able to go to a place and see your parent in person. And what they're doing nowadays is they are saying, no, you don't get to see this person in person. We're going to put you in another room and you're going to talk to him on a video phone.
Yeah.
And like the fact that you're denying these people normal human contact is just, it's disgusting to me. Like it baffles me that we can have such little humanity for other people. I mean, sure, yes, they have committed a crime. They're in there. Justly or unjustly, like they are in the system, but the fact that our country treats them like they're a commodity as opposed to a person is just, it's very hard for me to swallow.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you want to know a little bit more about America's incarceration problem, I would highly suggest watching that John Oliver video on prisons. There's also a Netflix documentary by Ava DeVere. I think I said that right. Right?
I think so.
Yeah. She made a documentary called 13th. I believe that she was the one who did it. And it's about the 13th Amendment, which, surprise, surprise, abolished slavery in the United States, but also has a small stipulation there that basically says slavery is illegal in the United States, except unless you are incarcerated.
It goes back to our selective reading of our amendments when we were talking about the gun stuff earlier.
But unfortunately, to tie it to a grander sense of American history, and the reason why we have so many people in prison and why we have such a corrupt police force is that 13th Amendment with that loophole has been a cudgel that places in America have used, particularly against our Black American population, as a way to still have slave work while actually having slavery be illegal in the United States. There's a reason why police incarcerate people of color at a larger rate, and that's the reason why certain communities, particularly poor communities, are also policed at a different rate than other people, and why crack carried a bigger sentence
than cocaine,
because crack is a poor people drug, and usually a poor people of color drug, and cocaine is a drug for rich white people. Yeah. But yes, it's all kind of tied into our collective cognitive dissonance, our subconscious as a nation, that we beat it into ourselves that guns are a fundamental right. Guns are important. Incarceration, those people are criminals. Why should they get a raise? Well, because they're human beings.
Yeah,
that's just what it is. They're human beings, and they're going to be human beings when they come out. And the reason why our rate of reincarceration, I believe that there's a better term for it. I forgot what it is.
Yeah, I forget there's a term.
Yeah, there's a better term. But basically, our prisoners go back to prison at a higher rate than a lot of other countries because we don't give them any kind of tools once they come out of prison. Prison in the United States is a form of punishment. It is not a form of rehabilitation. The people who do get rehabilitated in prison are actually quite remarkable.
Yes.
Because they have somehow,
in spite of everything against them.
Yeah, in that hell that is the American prison system, they've somehow etched out a small little nook where they can improve themselves, and the system does not help them in any kind of way, especially when they get out. Because, from parole officers to having to disclose certain things on job applications, and the way that our at-will employment also works, in particular with convicts and those kind of things.
The example goes to those people who fought the fires. Like, they can't actually be firefighters once they get out of prison, even though they are just probably as trained and willing to do the job.
Yeah, and I think the role of capitalism in this can't be understated.
No.
To John's point of why they're creating a system where you don't have face-to-face interaction, it's because a corporation was created in order to facilitate these interactions over the phone, and they sell you those minutes to talk to the people that you're visiting. You talk about a prison system that is incentivized to have more people in it because they make more money the more people that are in the beds in the prison, which then is affecting your policing.
It influences how we police our own people, and to go further, the corporations in the prison corporations, because they're actually called prison corporations. I believe there's one that I have a relative who has been continuously incarcerated. And I've had to send him money, and you send it to I believe it's the Corporate Prisons of America. That was the corporation that was holding his. And they essentially, what they do is they actually buy sentences. It's almost like a stock market. They trade, because the federal and the state prisons don't have enough money, and they don't have enough room for all the people we keep arresting. And so these corporate companies basically make a prison, and then they buy contracts. So they're basically buying and selling like
people.
indentured servants in some kind of way.
It's the same thing that, the debt companies who try and buy debt off of people. And,
very similar.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things where I believe a lot of times, free markets can help. Competition is good.
Yeah.
But there are certain things like healthcare and this and debts, which are like more of a human right. Mm-hmm. If I'm making a product and I'm just trying to sell that product to other people, that's one thing. But if my product is people or life-saving drugs, that seems kind of crazy to trade that on a free market.
Yeah,
I mean, we want to sell PlayStation, sure. Let's have a competition.
Yep.
But we're trying to sell insulin, maybe not.
Yeah, it's been as good as it can be in a promising manner. Seeing the legacy of the Jon Stewart with John Oliver and Hassan Minhaj, creating their shows and having this content more widely covered.
Yeah. It's fortunately our school system and those kind of things have a very hard time dealing with this kind of stuff because like in the John Oliver segment shows, there's a lot, quite a lot of people, and it's kind of hard to get out of the idea that that criminals are wrong and so they deserve what they get and stuff like that. Because hey man, if a guy kills a whole bunch of people, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some people can be rehabilitated, and a lot of people that are locked up are not locked up because they killed 20 people. They locked up because they got caught with a little bit too much cocaine.
3 strikes, laws,
sometimes.
Or it's even worse. Yeah, it's like a guy who took a sandwich from somebody, and because that was his 3rd strike, he goes away for a long time.
They were 17 and they fell under the influence of some really bad people.
They made a mistake, and the whole point is that they go there and they're supposed to serve their time, and they're supposed to be allowed to rehab. The whole point is rehabilitation, is to make them a functioning member of society. And unfortunately, that's not what the companies that are taking those people in are.
Oh yeah, they have no incentive to do that. The last thing I'll say on it is, why bother having prison sentences if when people get out, we're going to still treat them differently?
Yep.
Like, I get it. You strip them of some rights because you guys did a bad thing.
Yeah.
Now you're in prison. But when they're out, they should just be restored to full rights.
There should be a pathway for them to restore themselves as full citizens as part of that, rehabilitation process. Like
getting into voting rights issues.
I know.
Let's rabbit hole.
Yeah. All right. Let's.
Sorry, I brought it down. Let's get us back up.
That's important, John.
It's a very important and it's a very good piece of media that we consumed this week. Speaking of other media, in less serious tones, the season 2 of Mindhunters is starting in, I think, a week.
Okay.
The trailer looks pretty cool. I had my own misgivings because, a lot of the trailer is dealing with some serial killings in Atlanta. I believe it's a real life thing. I actually didn't read up on it, but there was a lot of whether or not the Ku Klux Klan was involved in killing all of these black children. Or whether or not it's a serial killer at all, and those kind of things. And the reason why I was kind of taken aback by it, this is just my own personal thing. I was just kind of worried about how that is going to translate to whatever message they're trying to say. Like, obviously racism is bad and those kind of things, but I'm worried that those writers, while writing a very good procedural show, can cross over to writing a show that has very good dissection of societal
unless they're smart enough to bring in writers who can handle that.
Yeah.
Right?
In some ways I feel like, now that I'm saying this out loud, I feel like I'm doing like the don't put politics in my serial killer show.
No, you're just worried that they won't address it at all, right? It's obviously they are going to address it, right?
it's very upfront about like, you know, whether or not the Ku Klux Klan is involved and those kind of things. And I have deliberately not read about those particular historical serial killing. Whatever.
I just watched the trailer and went, okay, that looks cool. Yeah. Like that was my reading of it. I didn't bother to do.
Are you more worried that they're using these things as props and they're not going to stick a landing?
Well, that too, but also just like I don't know. I guess I don't know if I have too much faith that they would give it its proper due. Instead of just having some fetishization of serial killing, which I guess in some way, the show is also kind of a it's like a serial killing fetish kind of thing. But it is a very good show and very well acted, very very well written. Yeah, and those kind of things. I very much recommend season 1 if you're into that kind of police procedural. And I'm looking forward to season 2 and seeing what that's all about.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Dark. Me and John have finished season 2 of Dark, also on Netflix.
Yeah. What is Dark, Dan?
Dark is
Well, there's
not too much I can tell
Dark Dan
you.
is the guy who comes on Discord occasionally and gets really really annoyed and like just
No. Okay, so the show cynical. Dark is a German show.
Yes.
The stupidest way that I can explain this show that it is German Stranger Things. But it's also kind of funny because it kind of is German Stranger Things because it's like Stranger Things taken to like this German extreme of how crazy can we make it in dark. But it's not really Stranger Things.
I would say it's like what if Stranger Things was less pure?
Like, it's more like what if Lost had really good writers and they were German?
This is so many.
And the reason why I'm saying German a lot is because there is a lot of
German as fuck.
Aside from them speaking German and being in Germany, but and having some cool cars also because they have some Audis and those kind of things and BMWs and even old cars because spoilers. The game is the show is about time travel.
Yep.
Okay.
It's kind of a little minor spoiler because it's not really evident that show is about that, especially in the first episode. But that is such a minor spoiler because there's so much other things that happen because that it's about time travel.
First thing I will recommend: do not let the trailer play when you select the show in Netflix. Just play it immediately. Get into the episodes. Don't let the pre-roll stuff play on it because it'll spoil shit.
Because if you're trying to watch season 1, it will show stuff from season 2, and some of the imagery is obviously spoiled.
Yeah, like the first thing that shows up in the trailer, I was like, "What the?"
But it's very German in the fact that there's a lot of self-doubt and self-loathing. But speaking as with some German ancestry, but there's also a lot of German philosophy in it. There's quotes from Nietzsche. There's also Freud, and then there's also a lot of things about whether or not we have free will and whether or not destiny, and what causes our own fate to actually play out, and whether or not we have any kind of say in that kind of matter, which is a very German philosophical thing.
Faith versus free will,
Faith versus free will. It's very cool. It's a cool show.
It's well acted.
Yeah, it's got a strange sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's not funny, but there's a strange kind of sense of humor to it. But it's very well acted, and it's meticulously and immaculately written in the way that it is so convoluted that somehow it still makes sense. Like I don't know how they do it. Like I don't know how their writers' room balances all of the storylines.
It's also gorgeously shot too. Like
it's also gorgeously shot. So. Also, things in the subject of things we watch. Tier Zoo. Chris, tell me about Tier Zoo.
Where did you guys?
We have discovered the
zoo
from our friend Rick, friend of the site, friend of the Discord.
Yes, he brought Tier Zoo.
He brought it into our lives,
the Discord,
and it has taken over everything. How would you describe Tier Zoo, Chris?
Imagine like a video game breakdown. Somebody was
fighting game characters.
Talking about min-maxing characters and potential.
He mostly talks about it in an MMO.
And tier list. There's your shit.
Yeah.
F-tier, B, A, S. S tier players. but applied to real life animals.
Yeah. You actually learn quite a bit about the animals, and it's actually kind of a great way to frame a discussion of biology and how like everything is kind of interconnected, but also a fun way to learn certain things about certain animals.
The particular episode, it was eye-opening, was about cats.
Yeah, tier list of felines.
I would have never placed jaguars as top tier cat.
Oh yeah, jaguars are crazy.
Would have never have occurred to me. I'm like lions, obviously. Yeah. Tigers, obviously.
Jaguars, yeah. I have seen video of jaguars fighting crocodiles before.
I didn't know any.
Yeah, and jaguars are crazy.
I was like, jaguars are like, kind of like cougars with spots or whatever. Yeah. See, I was blown away by the amount of information. And so I watched
those Native American populations
worship the jaguar.
Yeah, if it's the Incas, Mayas, or Aztecs, but there's a bunch of jaguar imagery in that.
That's why they were one of the animals in Legend of the Hidden Temple.
Pre-Columbus cultures.
But it was like Dan said, it was an interesting way to frame it. I honestly, if you
There's a lot of video game jargon.
Yes, if you taught kids this way, I feel like they would retain so much more information.
Yeah, in some ways.
It's just an incredible way to look at the world. It obviously intersects with video games and how we end up talking about them, but applied in just a totally random manner in the best way.
It's a great channel. All the videos are pretty short, within about 10 minutes or so. And it is called Tierzoo, Tierzoo.
Yes, watch it.
No break in between. It's very cool, especially the things about humans being OP.
Yes.
And how the other animals are trying to figure out whether or not they can compete on that level.
Cats versus dogs was wonderful.
Cats versus dogs is a very good one. Moving on, the Disney multiverse has released...
The Disney Juggernaut.
The Disney Juggernaut has announced from up on high how much we are allowed to pay them for the privilege of their content. And they are also roping in their other families of corporation empires, Hulu and ESPN Plus, which is the ESPN
premium subscription.
Premium subscription. So, Disney, Hulu, ESPN Plus for $12.99 per month.
I'm probably going to end up subscribing to this too.
Yeah.
I want the Marvel stuff.
And the Disney stuff.
The Disney stuff is major. Hashtag dad mode, that's Chris. I got 2 kids, and my wife had already said, hey, Disney's going to release a thing. Get ready to pay for it. And I was like, I don't want it. No. I don't need that.
But see, now you got stuff.
And now it's like, Hulu and ESPN Plus. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty great that they're throwing in Hulu and ESPN Plus there. I mean, because the big worry about Disney Plus when it first would come out was how much content would there be. I mean, a bunch of the MCU stuff, a bunch of the Disney movie stuff, but I mean...
Well, at least at Comic-Con this year, we got a good idea of what their MCU, content is going to be, what their idea of that, and their Star Wars content.
But what I'm saying is that, what if I don't want to watch stuff about superheroes or Star Wars or Disney stuff
Maybe I want
tonight.
to watch Aladdin.
Whatever's on, you can watch all the Modern Family you want.
There you go, Chris. Yeah.
All on Hulu. It couldn't be me, but
it's Seinfeld.
Somebody wants that.
Man, I loved that show that first season.
It was good.
It just kind of became the same show.
Hulu was how I watched all of Scrubs. So I mean, that's
a good show.
Yeah, and then ESPN Plus.
Hulu is low key.
Have you looked
underrated?
Yes, I don't know. I agree. And
good anime selection now too.
They screwed themselves because they used to have the paid model and still had commercials. Yeah. So I jumped ship after I watched all.
I
Scrubs.
get that for free.
See, well,
as part of my Spotify subscription, I get the Hulu subscription as part of that.
Humble brag.
It's just what they do now. If you subscribe to it, but there's still ads on.
So $12.99 better come without ads. Let's throw that out in the world.
That's gonna happen.
Make it so.
I don't think
make
it
so.
It's about the same price as Netflix, right?
Yeah, right about
Netflix
that.
is the same price
for their base plan. Yeah, I think Netflix is 4K is like $14.99 or $15.99 now, something like that.
That's
Seems
not
like,
too much of a concern.
It's
live
actually,
TV.
I mean, outside of arguments of corporate monopolies and whether or not Disney is just going to own everything eventually and all that kind of stuff and the different content and whether or not independent creators can break through in any kind of these models. Besides that, it's a pretty good price for what you're getting.
Now when Chris's kids go, we want to watch Moana for this 40 millionth time, Chris is like, here's the tablet, as opposed to them monopolizing the TV.
But I mean, it's a pretty good price if
all things considered.
We have to participate in the corporate monopoly of media, and unless we're just going to start having to read books.
Correct, and the rumors.
I don't want to read books anymore.
No, you use your eyes to read letters?
Yeah,
I listen to books.
Nah, I read enough on Twitter.
No, I just Alexa, feed me.
Don't say that out loud. She's listening.
She is listening.
You have one. You have one. That's true. She can't feed me.
All right, moving on. The Premier League of Soccer starts today. Chris, who is your
I know.
Who is your prediction for winning the something cup? The Premier Cup.
Dan, what
are they called? What is the cup called?
Premier League Championship?
Don't they have a name for the actual trophy?
No, I don't know.
Like the Stanley Cup?
They have the UEFA Cup, but that's different.
Not that I know of.
All right, tell me, who is your prediction? Who is your 1-4 Champions League's qualifiers position?
That's a good question. Manchester City first. Yeah. That's not gonna surprise anybody.
Outside of Chris's bias with Man City.
Yeah, Manchester City.
I've heard they're a good team.
The
City till I die. No, Liverpool is going to come in second.
Yeah.
Tottenham, I think, is going to be third.
Come on, you Spurs.
Who's a 4?
Are you a Spurs fan?
I just know that's the saying.
Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, that's the thing. You're right. I think Arsenal. Arsenal 4th. They've been
leading some strides.
They spent some money, which is weird for Kroenke. That's very, very odd. Who's also, keep it game centric, he's in the running to buy Echo Fox, I believe.
Oh, the Rich Fox
which means they're going to get ignored and forgotten that he owns them. So
do you think Man City has the goods to win the treble this year?
They did last year. The hardest part with cups is it's always just...
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Yeah, it's the playoff mode. I want to see them do well in Champions League, but...
now break down the Europa Cup and who's going to qualify. No, okay.
No.
Anyway, moving on.
CONCACAF.
Yes, Premier League is starting...
today.
And
Liverpool already...
Europe is starting...
this month. But
this month,
It's just Premier League starts really early. Because they take that 3 or 4 week break in the winter.
Yeah, December.
Right.
All right. Moving on. Toya. Just a little brief rundown of the toys that I have. What?
No, you made a Toya reference.
Yeah. How brief? Because the Discord exploded today.
Yeah, we just had a long discussion.
John opening his...
yes. Let's do it, John. What did you... John bought a blind box from Bluefin Brands, which is the North American distributor for Bandai, Storm Collectibles, those kind of things. If you see it in Barnes & Nobles or GameStop, it has gone through Bluefin. It's actually a pretty good way to know that your stuff is not pirated if it's got the Bluefin sticker logo on that. Mm-hmm. Although I guess a pirate could probably
make
that sticker,
but they probably wouldn't bother.
No.
But so what did you get in your blind box that you ordered during
right around Comic-Con?
Yeah,
thanks to Chris giving me the link. I'm sad you didn't order the Gundam box because it
was sold out when I got to it.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
So for $100, they said that you would at least get a Son Goku, the
Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku.
Yeah, blue hair
Goku.
Blue-haired Goku.
I have him in his instant transmission pose because he's about
a good $50 to $60. But what else did you get in the blind box?
The rest of my blind box, the first, the most weird piece I got was the SH Figure Arts Triple H, the game,
King of Kings
edition. Look out for the unboxing video on the gram.
Oh yeah, we just did that, didn't we?
I am the game. You know how it's played. How is it played?
Also, I got two. One package, which is basically an accessory set for Super Mario,
Yes.
Because Figuarts apparently does Super Mario figures as well.
Yes.
The diorama came with the Goomba, the Koopa Troopa, the Boo, and the Bullet Bill. Mm-hmm. But the pièce de résistance was the giant Bowser figure that I got from SH Figuarts.
He's a unit.
He is thick. THICC.
Thick Bowser.
Surprisingly well articulated for what is basically a big turtle dragon. And
is he a dragon? Is he a turtle?
That's what a Koopa is, right? It's like a turtle dragon.
So is he a turtle? Or
He's King Koopa.
I know. I know the name.
He's a turtle dragon.
Turtle dragon.
He's got turtle shell on his back.
Wart ain't shit in this fucking life.
But yes, the Figuarts animation / video game figures are excellent.
God tier.
They are God tier. They're God tier. But yeah, and then on the Toya front, I also bought a $20 Gundam model, one half which was the frame and the other half which was the armor, which Chris thinks is garbage, but I didn't
say garbage. I said that was expensive. Oh, it just put me on blast.
Yeah.
I said that I could buy a Gundam model for that price. You got...
What grade model, though?
It'd be regular grade, which is not what I would buy. I would spend more and get a master grade.
But would it be that
or a
size?
real grade?
I feel like we're never going to heal this divide. Anyway,
but would it be that
the
size?
things I got...
No, we have different core values, John and I.
I like smaller Gundam models.
No, you like action figures.
Yes.
I like models.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is
the divide.
Our difference is people.
There's room enough for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
As so say the Constitution of these United States.
Toya front, Dan.
On my Toya front, I got a number of figures, but the most notable of them is the Wolverine and Hulk 80th Anniversary Marvel 2-pack. It is made by Marvel Legends. It comes with a weird-looking Wolverine in his first...
authentic
he's rough.
Wolverine.
Oh, he's
rough. His first appearance is in the Incredible Hulk comic. And, he does not look completely like the Wolverine we know today.
No, sir.
His ears are a little small.
A little bit.
His outfit is a little weird.
60s, right? Or is it 70s?
I want to say late 70s.
Okay.
And his eyes are exposed, and my eyes are a little crooked.
A little cockeyed.
Yeah, whoever slave labor was painting my figure...
Robot.
Needed a break.
Yeah,
and they also probably needed a decent wage.
Yeah, calibrate that robot.
And working conditions.
But the Hulk.
But yes,
that Hulk
the reason why I got that 2-pack that was $60 was the Hulk, which is humongous. He's the size of, 5 Marvel Legends figures if you compact all of them into one mass.
He's a big boy. Big boy.
But he is great looking. All right.
Is that all you got this week?
We are almost out of topics.
Oh, we are? Oh, goodness.
That means we are down to the question of the week. Okay. Dan's question of the week. Evo happened last weekend. Big ups to SonicFox and Goichi. Yeah. Great play from both of them.
Such a healthy, heartwarming rivalry.
I loved it.
Yeah. The only time I ever watch anything from the fighting game community.
Evo.
SonicFox was stand.
Anything about those kind of things. But yes, very cool rivalry. SonicFox actually came back to win the Mortal Kombat 11.
He won the MK11 tournament,
but in keeping in the vein of Evo, if you were an Evo contestant, what game would you enter in that would give you the most chance of success? John.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean...
Chris.
Tekken 3.
That's not an Evo.
Listen, I'm not good at any other fighting game.
Tekken 2.
Tekken 7 would be the one you'd have to play. You could play Eddie and then just hit those two buttons over and over.
Eddie Goro.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would be Tekken 2 or 3 side tournaments.
Side hustles.
Yeah, for money, cash money. Cash money tournaments.
Dude, I love fighting games. That's the hardest part is I love fighting games. They look cool and they're really fun when you actually nail it, but it's so hard to actually be good at them.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a thing you have to practice at.
Yeah,
like, it's not a game. Because it's not. You're just not playing.
Oh, dude, the meta is nuts in that stuff, and I don't have the will, to invest in it the same way. So, but yeah, Evo was cool to watch. I didn't watch it live. I watched a lot of highlights, but it was really cool to see the top tier.
All right. Well, that's about does it.
Yeah.
For the uniquedrops.com, ask for it by name. Weekly Discourse. Our unique drops, weekly drops. There's a lot of drops in there.
Mm.
Chris, thank you for joining.
Dan, thank you.
John, always a pleasure.
Is it? Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll go with that. Always a pleasure.
I guess you can just take a compliment, but I guess that's just a little too hard sometimes.
It is.
And
it's
I'm
really
Dan,
hard.
your immaculate, beautiful host.
I mean, that's how it goes without saying.
Toya, Toya.
UniqueDrops.com, ask for it by name. Fuck Nazis.
Fuck them all.
Yeah.